Last week we learned all about slope. Last week we learned all about slope. And what we learned is there's lots of different ways to find slope. So, what were the 3 ways we learned to find slope? What were those formulas we learned? Rise over run. We learned rise over run. What else did we learn? Did we learn the slope formula? Yes, that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we learned one more way in our calculator. What button was that called? Stat. These are the 3 ways that you can find slope. And you get to pick which way you want to do it. You need to pick the easiest way, and not one of these is always the easiest. It depends on the situation. So let's look at 4 different examples, and let's decide what way we think is easiest. So everybody look. What do y'all think the easiest way to find slope from a table is? Would you use rise over run, slope formula, or stat? Which one do y'all think is easiest? I agree, stat. Write that down. So if you have a table, stat is the easiest way to go. So let's go practice that. Everybody ready? Get your calculators. Go to stat. Now what? No, what do I got to do next? Edit. Very good. Delete what's there. And then do we have to put in the entire table? We have to put 2 ordered pairs. So this one and that one, that's 2 ordered pairs, yes? So I got -3 and 0 and -6 and 0. Now go to stat. Now what? Go over to calc. If you ever forget you're looking for mx plus b or ax plus b, it's the same thing. So option 4 and hit enter until it gives it to you. What is the slope? So the slope is 2. Now, what is the issue with stat every once in a while? What does stat always give you the answer in? Fractions or decimals? Stat will always give you decimals. And sometimes it wants a fraction as the answer. So if you use stat, you have to be able to pick an answer that has the same value. So pretend that stat would have given us 0.3 repeating. And my answer choices are fractions. What would I do? Let me repeat myself. Pretend stat gave me this as an answer. And my answer choices look like this. What would I do? What would I do? What would I change these answers to? Decimals. So it would take me a little bit of time. I need to go to alpha y equals in my home screen. I'm not going to do it here in stat. I would need to go back to my home screen and say, man, what is 1/3 as a decimal? So I go to alpha y equals 1/3 enter, math, decimal, enter. Does that match? Then that would be my answer. But you would have to test these out to see which one has the same value. Does that make sense? Yes or no? So stat is always going to give you your answer as a decimal. It is your job to change the answer choices to decimals if they aren't. All right, let's move on. Here's the next situation. What do you think is the best way to find slope from 2 points? You could use the slope formula. Could you also use stat? Yes, if you have 2 points, though, I would make a table out of those 2 points. So let's practice that. Everybody make a table. I don't see everybody doing what I'm asking you to do. All right, in an ordered pair, this is the what? This 5 is the x, This 3 is the what? All right, so I have 5, 3. What's the x over here? -2. What's the y? Now I can use stat. If I don't make a table, I'll probably put them in the wrong spot. So I'd like for you to make a table if they give you that. All right, so let's go to stat. Oops. Edit. Delete what's there. Put in 5 and -2 because those are my x values. And then I'm going to put in 3 and -4 because those are my y values. Remember, x's are your list 1. Okay, go to Stat, Calc, option 4. What is the slope? Oops, yes. The slope is 1. So will stat work for tables and ordered pairs? But you need to make a what? You need to make a table if they give you ordered pairs so that you don't mess up. All right, go down to a graph. What do y'all think is the easiest way to find slope of a graph? Personally, it's probably going to be rise over run, unless it's not counting by 1. So there's those weird tables. If they look weird and it's counting by weird stuff, I wouldn't use rise over run. But this table doesn't tell you what it's this graph doesn't tell you what it's counting by, so you can assume it's counting by 1. So absolutely rise over run is probably the easiest. Could I use stat? Yes, I could. But I'd have to write a table. All right, so rise over run. What would slope dude say about this line? Nice negative. So remember, from left to right, if he's going downhill, it's going to be a negative answer. And if you forget to put that negative sign, you'll miss it. All right, which dot do we start with? The bottom dot. We draw a line up and we count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my top number because that's the rise. Now we count the run. Again, I'm counting squares. 1 square, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Do I need to simplify this? Yes, if it needs to be, which this one doesn't. But I always check. I always check. So my slope is -4/5. Okay. I am also going to show you how you would have used stat if you wanted to. So if I wanted to use stat, I still have to take these points, but I need to make a table if I want to use stat. So here is 0. Does everybody agree that's 0 right here? So what is the x value for this dot? I'm at 1, 2, 3. What am I at? So the x is 4. Where am I at on the y-axis? If this is 0 and I'm right here, isn't that -1? And then this would be on the x-axis. This would be -1. And on the y-axis, I am at 1, 2, 3. So I could still make a table. Would it give me, it is a fraction? No, stat would have actually given me -0.8. Both of those are the same answer. Does everybody understand? Stat would have given me -0.8. Rise over run gives me -4/5. Are they the exact same answer? Yes. One is a fraction, one is a decimal. All right, last one. This one we didn't really learn last week, but we've been learning it for weeks. I love when they ask what is the slope of an equation. Because in y equals mx plus b, this number right here is the what? That number is the slope. You don't have to solve anything. You just have to see it. So look at this equation. Y equals 2/3 x plus 10. Which one of these numbers would the slope be? 2/3. Let's say it again. And y equals mx plus b, the number stuck to the x is the slope. So this number right here is attached to the x. That means it is the slope. The slope is 2/3. It's that simple. All you have to do is be able to see it. All right, so we have gone over the 3 different ways to find slope. Which is the only way I really never used? The slope formula, because I'd rather use stat. Okay, it's totally up to you guys though. Open your Chromebooks and you'll go to the assignment when I post it and get it checked with me.